All right, welcome back to another video. And in this week's video, I'll be talking about what I learned from So Good That They Can't Ignore You. So Good They Can't Ignore You by Cal Newport. So this book was really about how he argues that passion isn't a thing. And the ideas that he talks about in the book, I think, are very important. But in this video, I'm going to only highlight two of the ideas that I took away from it, which to me seems like what he believes to be the most important portions too, and what I feel like a lot of other people have taken from the book and have impacted from them. So the first point I want to cover from the book is skill stacking. And this whole concept is that the idea that skills can be stacked on top of each other and that they synergize each other. So when you're learning, if you decide to learn like sales or something, right? That could be like your ground level skill. And then up above that, you say, oh, okay, I'm gonna go to marketing. And then you say, oh, I'm gonna go to programming. Like, and it keeps going and going and going and going until what I say, they synergize until when you're in your own plane of existence. You're so good that they can't ignore you. It's to the point where you have so many skills and they synergize together in a very unique way till they create something. He gave an example in the book where there was this guy who was a programmer and he liked music, and then he made like some AI robot, and that was his community, and then he started making like $100,000 a year. So it's just like one community, and that's all he needed was to synergize the skills that he already had and what he was interested in, and then he made something that was good with that, if that makes any sense. So this is my definition, that skills can be stacked to be maximum leverage in the future. The fun part about that is that it's almost like a game where you level up your character. And as you get more unlocks, you can get the legendary sword you always wanted but couldn't get because you were such a low level. And that's how I think about skills. It's like you're such a low level. You're at low level skill. You're like base level. Like you're a brown shirt. You know what I'm saying? You're not really that skillful yet. But as you level up your skills over time and you keep working and working and working, you build a momentum one. And then as you keep learning skills, then you're like, okay, I'm good at this. Now let's move to the next thing. And you just keep synergizing until it creates something new. So the example I'm giving is a programmer does program for 10 years and then they decide they want to start a company. They learn sales and marketing for 5 years by doing cold calls all day long, and then they decide they need to learn the supply chain. It keeps going and going. A person keeps attaching skills and more skills until it's synergized into their own plane of existence. And I used to give an example here is just like how your DNA comes together to create you. And then think of your skills coming together to make a whole new industry. Another point of this was finding where to apply your skill set. If you know Iman Gadzhi, he kind of talked about this in one of his videos, like always applying your skill set, like your active skill set right now to what you're doing. So like if you're not good at programming, don't try to go market yourself. Don't go and try to monetize yourself as a programmer. Just work on your skills as that. Not to say that you can't like go in a competition and try to make money and try to monetize in that way or form, but don't go in the market saying that this and this and this, because you're obviously not going to be the best at it. So it's just finding and applying your skills to the right people and right people. So the idea is basically around the same thing around skills stacking. So go to the people who value you. People value different things at different prices. Just think about people who are willing to pay $100,000 for Pokemon cards, like a whole Pokemon card set, like first edition sets, and people who collect art pieces that look like to you that are $10, but they're actually worth like $1 million to them. So once again, find people who value your skill set. Because when you think about it, there's going to be people who value you more than others. People are going to say, oh, he's just some cheap programmer off Fiverr and he's, only worth like $50, $100 an hour. But then there's a person who's making a business who's saying, this guy's actually really talented. And I'm telling you, word of mouth like plays hard. So it's like, if somebody saying this guy's like worth $1,000 and you really show off like that, your value's probably going to go up. So this left me with a question: what skills should people develop? There's no cut and dry answer for that, but I have two rules that I think will help most people in this sense. So do something that most people can't do, and this is more for like the development side of skills. Try to find skills that like you can do, because once again, if a robot can do it, which AI to me is going to take over a lot of jobs, I don't think it's going to get rid of jobs. I think it's just going to help a lot more jobs. Like I see AI not like harming us, but actually benefiting us. That's what I want to see. I'm thinking about that more. I'm trying to change my perspective a little about that a little more. But just think about when you develop that skill to be so good they can't ignore you, hence the name of the book. You find a skill or like an interest or something like that, and you develop it to the point where you're so good they cannot ignore you. Like Bill Gates, for example, he's just programmed, right? And he became so good that like people were like kind of jokingly making fun of him, but I mean like he destroyed them in every single scenario. And something that you're interested in that gives values to other people, because people could. I don't really agree with the whole premise that like passion isn't a thing anymore. I don't really know how to play it because there's different words. There's a calling, there's a passion, there's interest. I think I'd rather not focus on passion and calling because I think those are a little bit more like, lovey-dovey purpose stuff. Yeah, I'm not really into all that kind of stuff right now. Maybe later. But interest, I think, are a better way to put it. But I think the problem is that when people look at their interest, like anybody can be interested in like watching YouTube videos, or anybody can be interested in playing a sport or like watching Netflix. But I think find an interest that it can give value to others, and that to me, like, you're intense about. It's about intensity. So the last thing about this book, last rule I got from this book, is optimize for control and autonomy. So what does control and autonomy mean? So control, we all know what control is. You want to be like, if you're a control freak, like if you have like a product you're developing, or like, you're on like a team and like you want them to win, so you start micromanaging everybody. That's control. You want control. Autonomy, I don't really know. There's no like cut and dry definition for this, but it's like, to me, think about like independence. Like, to me, it's when you own all your time. You own your time, you own location freedom, you have financial freedom. That's to me what autonomy is, right? You're just an entity. You don't really need to. You're just doing things for the fun of it rather than like for the pay, basically. So when people think about the ideal career, they want it. Usually involves one in which they can have their own time and set their own rules. It usually involves hanging up their work boots and going off to some farm in the middle of nowhere to start working. Any time in your career, optimize for control rather than pay, unless it's your goal to earn more. So that's the kind of principle I took away from it, optimize for control. And he kind of went over in the book where he said, like, when your skill set is up there, right? You optimize for control, and people are gonna try to like people are going to try to stop you from gaining that control, but it's just because you're so good that it's like it would be crazy for you to just leave. Like if you're in a company, you created the company so much value, and you just decide to leave one day out of nowhere, you're kind of just destroying the business because you're just that good in the business. So always optimize for control and autonomy. And really, when it comes to control and autonomy, optimize for, there's these three like types of freedoms. There's called location, time, and financial freedom. Those are the big ones. Time freedom, I think, is the biggest one. Like if you own your time, like you can do a lot more. Location freedom, maybe not so much. I feel like that's more on the level. But if I'm gonna like put this on a hierarchy, in my opinion, it's time, financial, and location. And I feel like once you have that, you basically have control and autonomy, and you can do anything with whatever your career or whatever. So that was it for the video this week. This is what I've learned from So Good They Can't Ignore You. I'm gonna go over a quick little summary. Skill stacking. You stack on skills, you keep latching on skills till they synergize into one big thing that is unexplainable. The skills are just you, a part of you. You make a whole new industry. And the rules that apply to that, finding the skills you should develop. One, it's something that other people can't do. And two, it's something that you're interested in that gives value to others and that you're kind of intense about at times. And last rule is optimize for control and autonomy. And within that, there's three, in my opinion, that are the best. And it goes down in order: time freedom, and scratch all the other freedoms. Time freedom is the only one. Own your time, you set your own rules. And any time in your career, optimize for control rather than pay, unless your goal is to earn more. This is what I learned from Cal Newport's book, So Good They Can't Ignore You. I'll put the link in the description for anybody who wants to read it. Thank you.